My name is Julius Arscott. I am the Labour Forward candidate sponsored by the Workers' Action Movement for President of the Canadian Labour Congress. Workers want a union movement which is engaged in the class struggle, a movement which does not shy away from defending the interests of our class around the world, a movement which will take a leading role in fighting the pandemic and eco-catastrophe head-on. We see this in the Wildcat Hospital support workers strike by AUPE members in Alberta, in the lockout of Molson workers, members of Canadian Union of Brewery and General Workers Local 325, who rejected the boss's concessionary demands. Workers of color continue to fight systemic racism in the workplace in our unions without the support of union leadership. In fact, millions of workers hit the streets in support of Black Lives Matter. The CLC must unequivocally support the call for defunding, disarming, dismantling, and the abolishing of the police. Workers support land back initiatives in support of Indigenous peoples. We want to fight for a better world. The unionization rate increased over the period of the pandemic, with efforts being made to unionize the precariat or precarious workers who are not represented by unions. Companies like Amazon are in the crosshairs. Workers across the country are in the front lines fighting COVID-19 with inadequate support from our labor movement. The vaccination delays, the lack of personal protective equipment and paid sick leave, and the overall priority of profits over human needs, with the spotlight on the most precarious and vulnerable workers keeping the economy moving, have all shown the need for a dramatic change in labor union priorities and leadership. Workers want to fight against concessions, against 2 and 3 tier. We see how difficult it is to live in a society with a high cost of living while our union leadership continues to sell us on settling for less. There's no doubt that there's an appetite for serious change in our labor movement. What's lacking is leadership. The Workers' Action Movement strives to help build that leadership to change our labor movement for a better world. A common phrase we are now hearing is that after the pandemic, we must build back better. Much of the problems that we face as a society are as a result of the conditions working people have faced for decades. It is not realistic to assume anything will change as a result of the status quo leadership. Change does not happen automatically, like a gift from the boss. We know it comes through working class struggle. It always has. And the misleadership of our movement has proven itself unwilling to mobilize the ranks of labor to fight for substantial gains. It's time to put movement back into labor.
Hello. My name is Jennie Esnard, and I am running for the position of First Vice President at the Canadian Labour Congress. I am an advocate and an activist for human rights and the labor movement. I currently sit on the board of directors for the Professional Institute of the Public Service of Canada, as well as chair of the Human Rights and Diversity Committee. I spent considerable time in the political arena in my younger days. My motivation is the labor movement and how we can improve. We need to shake things up, people. We need to shake up the establishment. And I am here to advocate for those who lost their voice and for those who want and need representation. I am here to right the wrongs, and it's time to take action. I hold those in positions of power accountable. That's right. However, we, as one, must unite and mobilize. The Workers' Action Movement, WAM, strives to forge democratic union leadership to make a better world for the working class and humanity. WAM honors workers of color who fight systemic racism daily. Why hasn't the CLC heed the call of the multiracial North American working class that is crystallized in slogans? Black Lives Matter, Stop Asian Hate. WAM stands for no concessions bargaining, for greater union democracy, and for mass job action to fight austerity. We want labor to lead struggles against systemic racism, for eco-socialism, and the need to defund the police. No more backhanded support for the Liberal Party. It's over. Let's commit to the labor-based NDP and fight within it for a workers' agenda. I, Jennie Esnard, vow to elevate our members and fight for equality.
My name is Sandra Griffith-Bonaparte, and I am part of the Labour Forward campaign sponsored by the Workers' Action Movement for the position of Second Executive Vice President at the Canadian Labour Congress. I am the president of a large local union of national defense employees. As a Black worker, I have faced discrimination not only in the workplace, but in the union. However, this has not stopped me from fervently defending employees' rights in the workplace and advocating for human rights in the community. The unions have lost their way in fighting for the rights of workers. The union used to stand for equal work for equal pay of equal value. However, we have gone through numerous pay delays and major Phoenix scandal with the union. It is not easy to decipher who is the union and who is the management. That is why WAM is taking the lead in putting forward 3 candidates. WAM policy stands for Mass Job Action Against Concession Bargaining, 2-tier wages, and employers' attack on workers' pension. WAM demands paid sick leave for all workers and vigorously opposes racism, sexism, and homophobia. My name is Sandra Griffith-Bonaparte, and I am running for the Second Executive Vice President of the Canadian Labour Congress.
My first memory of the labor movement was getting thrown on the hood of a car with a picket in my hand. I turned to the police officer standing close by, and he just laughed at me. I learned very quickly whose side they were on, and I guess things haven't really changed over the years. Hello, my name is Harold Marcotte. I'm running for the office of Secretary-Treasurer of the CLC. That strike lasted several months. Pretty hard times for me and my family and my friends. It seemed to last a lifetime, but looking back, every second was worth it. Over my 30-year career, that sacrifice paid big dividends. Our small victories today become big victories of tomorrow, and likewise, the small concessions can grow into a big tidal wave of despair for future generations. For the past 14 years, I've been an activist in our NUREG group of the Professional Institute of the Public Service. Since 2018, I've served as president of the NUREG group, and NUREG now represents 640 members. Words come easy to some, but action, sisters and brothers, our future and this election is about action. I believe it's time for a change. We can't just watch and whimper as our union numbers diminish, our benefits are threatened, and our wages erode. We need to grow in strength and numbers and never give in, even to the smallest concession. We need to help out the weaker unions amongst us, to help make them stronger and not consume them in our aid. We need to look outwards and grow by bringing into the House of Labour the most vulnerable, unrepresented, and precariously employed workers of Canada. As a movement, we need to be united in strength and amplify their voices by lending ours. We need these workers to look at us and say, look how they care for one another. And I want to be a part of that. We can grow exponentially if we can capture their imagination. The solution boils down to leadership, knowing when to stoop and lend a hand, when to lead the charge and when to get out of the way, to look beyond our own needs to the needs of others, and the vision to see 10, 20, or 50 years down the road. Great leaders mend fences, bury the hatchets, and join hands once again with all our union brothers and sisters. Build the shelters, throw wide open the doors, and invite everyone in. Really show people how we care for one another. Great leaders lock arms together and march in the streets, proclaiming our proud labor movement, demanding proper pay for frontline workers, PPE, protocols, protections, decent sick leave, and the right to strike. Great leaders join voices together to loudly demand what every worker deserves, but fewer and fewer people enjoy. Sisters and brothers, we should never rely on others to decide for us what to do or who to put into office. By exercising our duty to vote is how we all lead in a true democracy. We should never just strive to be on the winning side. We should be ready to stand alone if need be with our informed convictions. For that is the true power of democracy, and you will never stand alone. Know that generations that follow will stand on your shoulders and remember the stand that you took today. My brothers and sisters, the future of labor in Canada begins with one vote, yours. And thank you for your consideration.